We're always 2 weeks behind.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, my grade 7. We are now in the last part. Again, I am opening again activity number 6 for the last time, simply because some of you did submit a document with a blank answers, right? So what I did was I want to give you, what I did is I want to give you another time to answer activity number 6, which is the report sheet, for the last time, right? Is RJ around?
Yes.
Okay. RJ, again, please inform your classmates that activity number 6 is now open. That's the performance tasks. Okay. If you don't have performance tasks, then I cannot give you a grade actually for the performance tasks. Right? Let's move now
Okay.
to, let's make it a hurry simply because time is running out. Your exam is fast approaching. Your exam is this next week. I think 17, 18 or 16, 17, 18. Right? So let's move forward. Let's move now to animal cell. Animal and plant cell. Can you see my shared screen now?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, it's
All
very
right.
clear.
That's great. Okay. Animal and plant cell. So these are the basic unit of life. Okay. Talking about animals and talking about plant cells. What are their differences? How do these animals also or a plant also differ on in terms of nutrition? You see nutrition, the way they eat, okay, the way they survive, their habitats, okay. How do these plants and animals also live, okay, based on their cellular structure. Okay, we'll be basing it over to the basic unit of life, right? That's a cell. Cell theory. Cell theory, cells are the basic unit of life. Okay, we need to move to the basic in order for us to understand the complexity of these organisms. Okay, in the modern world, they are the smallest known world that performs all life's functions. All living organisms are either single cells or single cell or are multicellular organisms. Unicellular, uni means one, and multicellular means many or plenty, composed of many cells working together. Robert Hooke's discovery about cell from a dead core did not create an impact during his time because during Robert Hooke's time, they are not actually convinced there is a thing called cell. Okay, Robert Hooke and Anton van Leeuwenhoek, okay, continued to make observations nevertheless, but it had taken 200 more years, imagine, before it became generally accepted that all living things are made up of cells, which can reproduce themselves life. Okay, again, until now, scientists and even us didn't actually have an explanation on how this, okay, what triggers this cell to divide, what triggers this cell also to separate its genetic components. Okay, but there is some triggering factor on this. Okay, in 1838, okay, a German botanist, Matthias Jacob Sleden, focused his interest in the study of plant cells. He actually focused on plant cells. Okay, while another German physiologist, Theodor Schwann, okay, examined an animal cells. When you say Sleden, okay, Sleden is in plant cell, okay, botany, and Theodor Schwann is in the animal cells. Okay. Along with the findings of the other scientists, they all confirm that cells are made or cells are the fundamental units of life and that the bodies of living organisms are made up of cells. And because of this. So it started with Robert Hooke, okay? But in his time, the science community is not convinced yet because it is just a dead cell. How can you tell us that there are some life there? It is just a dead cell. And Robert Hooke coined it a cell simply because it looks like a room, an empty room. Okay, but because of Matthias Jacob Sleden and Theodor Swan, okay, they all confirmed that cells are made up of fundamental units of life, and the bodies of living organisms are made up of cells. Here comes the theory of virtue. Okay, in 1858, German physicists or physician Rudolf Karl Virchow proposed the third tenet in the cell theory. Okay, stating that all cells come from the other cells through the process of cell division. Okay, here comes Rudolf Karl Virchow. Virchow now explains that these cells, that Theodorus 1 and Matthias Jacob Sloden discovered, can actually divide itself. Okay, that's the third tenet of the cell theory. Can actually divide itself in the process of cell division. Can actually manipulate, okay, their cells. Collectively, the concept of Sloden, Schwann, and Virchow were summarized into known today as the cell theory, which states that number one, okay, please take note of this because this is really important. Number one, all organisms are composed of one or more cells. It could be a unicellular organism, just like your bacteria, okay, or more cells into a multicellular organism, including us. We are multicellular organisms. They are composed of different cells. That's the first tenet. The second tenet in the cell theory is cells are the smallest and basic units of structure and function in an organism. Okay? Again, cells are the basic unit or the smallest and the basic unit of structure and function in an organism or in organisms. Okay, that's the second. Okay.
Sir,
They
what about
found out,
atoms?
come again, Travis?
What about atoms? Like, aren't they smaller?
Well, definitely atoms are different. Okay. When you're talking about cells and atoms, they're entirely different. Why?
Why?
Because
Atom is
atoms,
not a cell.
come again, Levi?
Atom is not a cell.
Correct. When we're talking about atom, it's matter. Correct? If you're going
Yeah.
to look at atom, it is a non-living thing. Okay, we're talking about life. That's the biggest difference. Okay, Travis, if you're going to look at cells usually associated with life, and atoms is associated with the components of life. We are composed of a cell. We are composed of different cells, but we are also composed of different chemicals, different structures, okay, different non-living thing structures. Sure, what are the non-living thing structure that you're talking about? Your vitamins and minerals, those are non-living things, correct? Correct?
Yeah.
What else? Your clothes. Your clothes is it's a non-living thing, but you interact with it, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
Your
we do.
laptops. Your laptops, of course, they're non-living things, but you're interacting to it. So those are the samples, right? The
Yeah.
third tenet in the cell theory is that cells arise only from the previously existing cells by cell division. It can only arise from the previously existing cells. Question. Okay. Question. Who gone first?
No.
Egg or the chicken? If the cell
The
arises
egg. The
only
egg.
from the previously existing cells, why
It's
do
the
you think
egg.
so?
It's because the egg turns into the chicken, and the chicken lays eggs, and another egg will lay another chicken. I mean chick, and then it'll grow to a chicken.
Any other answer? That's Travis' concept. Any other answers?
Egg.
Egg comes first. Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Egg.
Why? I
It's
want
egg.
your ideas.
The egg
Well,
is egg. That's why it's egg.
because it doesn't make sense if the chicken
The
becomes an
chicken
egg.
comes from the egg. But the egg comes
Chicken
from the
comes from
chicken.
the egg. But how can you
Yes.
explain the concept that the eggshell, the calcium in the eggshell comes from the chicken itself.
I
So
don't
if
know.
you're
You
talking
don't
about
know.
if you're talking
Maybe
so
the
about
egg
hard.
comes from like a different animal or something,
if you're talking
and they
about
turn into a
egg
chicken.
comes first, then how this egg, the covering of the egg, the protection of the egg created?
Uh
It was the chicken first because evolution.
no, it's what?
No,
No,
Was it
the
unless
egg
the chicken spawned.
No, the
right?
chicken was created from cells. It
Okay,
gradually
no,
this
but
evolved.
the egg
explain.
goes on first.
So
Without
technically,
the
the
No,
egg, there
chicken
will
where
be
would
no
the egg
chicken.
go? Where
It'll
would
turn
the
into a
egg go?
I
chicken.
don't
It
know,
turns
from
into a
another
chick.
animal.
No, the egg
no
goes on.
biological evolution.
What the?
I'm
Lucky
so
egg.
confused now. I'm so
This
confused.
hurts my brain. Okay, I've got this question so many times this week and I still can't solve it.
Well, in Google it says egg came first.
Yeah, it did.
What do you mean?
The egg can
Yeah, I
go
searched it.
first.
The
It's
egg of a
first.
T-Rex
Where would
evolved
the
into
After
egg?
I said the egg go first, it just said something
Because
protocyst.
now there's a question though. How did the egg get created?
It's just there,
Yes,
and
that
it grows.
by a duck?
Then the
Huh?
chick,
By a
then the
duck?
chick, and the chick just
Uh,
eats the worms from the ground. Wait, that's not what chicks eat.
A
What
cell
is this
colony created.
argument?
It says two
Bruh,
birds that
this
were in
argument could
chicken
go
created
on.
a
Oh my
chicken egg,
god, what kind of
and
question is
hence you
this?
have an answer. The egg came first, and then he hatched a
Yeah, the
chicken.
egg came first.
Okay.
No, the chicken came
Forward.
first.
No,
Who
do you
spawned
just
the
expect for the
chicken?
chicken to egg? Yeah, who spawned the chicken? Oh my gosh. The
And then
egg
who
goes
spawned
first.
the egg?
From
It's
another
Tell
just
me who
animal.
spawned the
there.
egg.
Another
The
From another
chicken
animal.
animal.
spawned the egg.
No,
Who
another
spawned the egg,
animal.
huh?
I
Huh?
What do
don't
you
know. I'm
mean?
not a chicken.
No, what do you mean?
What do you mean
No,
another
The
The
animal
chicken
spawned?
spawned.
first.
Chicken egg or normal egg? Chicken egg or egg?
No, the chicken got first. Because
why?
who would?
Give me a
It's be-
biological. Give me a
it's
logical
because who
But
would
explanation.
then
lay
the
the
chicken
eggs?
came
Who
from
would
the
lay
egg.
the eggs?
But who
You?
made the
Would you
chicken?
lay
Answer
the
the question.
eggs?
Who made the eggs? Who made the chickens?
The eggs, and then where
Chicken
where
egg
did the
or
eggs
bird
go?
eggs?
Of course, from the chicken.
Yeah, but
You
which
laid the
goes first,
eggs.
not last. We're talking about who goes
Okay,
first,
here's
not
another
last.
Why are you asking
Is it a
me?
chicken
To
egg
make it
or
Why are
logical,
you
you're the one
asking
who.
me?
All right,
Because
all
you're
right.
the
No,
So
one
the
who.
much,
chickens go
everybody.
first.
So much for the egg and the chicken, right? But those are
Yes.
just few of concepts in science. If
the
you're going to
chicken
look,
came before the chicken egg, but the actual egg came before the chicken. That's the answer.
that's how how broad science is. We are just in the chicken and the egg.
You can expand it further if you want to.
There are a lot of concepts in science that, yes, really mysterious. Even the existence of humankind, it is really mysterious until now. Okay, egg and the chicken, they are really mysterious until now also. Okay, if you're going to analyze it, it is under abyss. It's a
No one
bird,
knows.
correct? So most probably, if it is in biblical, it's different approach. If it is in scientific, it's different approach also. But they're not contradicting. Okay, they go hand in hand, but in different approaches. Right. So much for that. Let's move now to cell organelles. Okay. Talking about cell organelles, organelles means small organs. Okay. An organelle is a subcellular structure that has one or more specific jobs to perform in a cell. Okay, much like an organ does in the body. Okay. Before, when they actually had an experiment with regards to the existence of organelles, okay, they think that these organelles are not moving. They think that these organelles are static. Is it static? It just stayed there without a purpose. But then again, because of the further studying and because of this the advancement of technology, they can actually now see how these organelles work. Okay, organelles make up the subunits of a cell. There are numerous of each with their own function. Okay, first things first, let's have the plasma membrane. Okay, plasma membrane. This is an organelle that encapsulates. You see, encapsulates. It actually what? Covers the entire contents of the cell. It is also known as cellular membrane. plasma membrane and cellular membrane are the same. Okay, they are the same. A part of the encapsulating cell contents, the plasma membrane also plays a vital role in regulating the movement or movement of the substances in and out of the cell. Okay, the plasma membrane is made up of 2 layers of phospholipid, or in our term, in scientific term, it is called phospholipids bilayer. Phosphorus and lipids. Phosphorus and lipids. It is composed of phosphorus, fats, lipids in 2 layers. Why? Sure. What's with the phosphorus or phospholipid bilayer? Okay. These are 2 layers of phosphorus and lipids or fats. Therefore, it regulates. Okay? It actually gives you an idea on how this plasma membrane regulates the fluid intake or the fluid going out and going in of the cell. So this regulates now the osmoregulation, okay? Cellular osmoregulation. You see, osmoregulation, this is the movement of fluids in and out of the cell. Osmosis, okay? Because talking about lipids, it can be, number 1, hydrophobic. See, hydrophobic, water, phobia is a fear, correct? Phobia. Hydrophobic. Hydro means water and phobia is a fear. So therefore, it will not allow water to come in. Okay? That's hydrophobic. And the second one, okay, because this is made of phosphorus, phosphorus is hydrophilic. When we say hydrophilic, it allows water to come in. So therefore, plasma membrane can actually what? Regulate the in and out of water or substances in the cell. That's the concept behind. Okay, cell wall. It is one of the most important components of plant cells. Take note. Again, cell wall is one of the most important components of plant cells. So therefore, you can only see cell wall, okay, you can only observe cell wall in a plant cell or plants. Okay, and you cannot observe this one in an animal cell because we are not composed of cell wall. Number 1, if we are composed of cell wall, if an animal is composed of cell wall, therefore there are some restrictions of movements because cell wall is really hard. This makes no plant hard because of the cell wall. And cell wall, number 2 is composed of what? Fibers, which is the product of photosynthesis, but we cannot actually perform photosynthesis. So therefore, in animal cell, cell wall is absent, while in plant cell wall is present. Okay, that's one comparison. Okay, the cell wall surrounds the plant as a cell membrane that serves to strengthen and protect the cell. Okay, the cell wall surrounds the cell. Plant cell wall is typically composed of cellulose fibers. Okay, cellulose fibers, meaning to say that these cellulose fibers is actually the product of photosynthesis. Okay, it's a sugar, it's a complex sugar, which is a product of photosynthesis. But we cannot actually perform photosynthesis. So we don't have cell wall at all, right? But some of the bacteria, okay, bacterial cell wall is composed of some of the bacteria is composed of cell wall. Okay, it is composed of peptidoglycan, a chain of polysaccharides, and lipopolysaccharides, which is lipids or fats. This is now the question of susceptibility of a particular bacteria in an antibiotic. Okay, this is the reason behind why do we need to take antibiotic if we have bacterial infection. Okay, if the bacteria, okay, is composed more with peptidoglycan, okay, this is susceptible to antibiotics because antibiotics usually what? Usually what? Damages the peptidoglycan.
If
Okay,
you drink
cell
too
wall
much.
of the bacteria in order for us to kill that particular bacteria, right? But in the case of bacteria with more lipopolysaccharides in it, Therefore, it is not that easy, okay, to kill, because lipopolysaccharides are fats. These are lipids. So, like for example, for instance, the tuberculosis. The tuberculosis, okay, it's really hard to kill. It's actually 6 months of medication under antibiotics. Why? Because again, the tuberculosis bacteria in it is composed more of lipopolysaccharides rather than peptidoglycan. That's the reason behind. Okay. Question so far?
No.
All right. Let's move now to cytoplasm. Okay. It is composed of protoplasm. Okay. Protoplasm in which all the other cell organelles are suspended. Cytoplasm is where all the organelles are suspended. Okay. It is more like a jelly form. Okay. Under the microscope, it looks like a jelly.
The house with screams of
The third one is nucleus. Okay. It is the storehouse of genetic information in the form of DNA inside the cell. This is where your DNA is being contained. Okay. In eukaryotic cells, eukaryotic means what? Yo means true. Okay. It has a true nucleus. Therefore, the nucleus there is covered by a nuclear membrane. The nucleus is enclosed in a nuclear membrane. It is the organelle that controls the hereditary traits of an organism by directing such processes as protein synthesis and cell division, among others. In prokaryotic organism, pro means primitive type, karyon or karyotes means nucleus, a primitive type of nucleus. The DNA lacks a nuclear membrane. The lack of nuclear membrane there will actually make nucleus scattered. Hence, it has nucleoid instead of nucleus. So still the same. It contains it contains the genetic characteristic of an organism, but it lacks a nuclear membrane. Okay. Since it lacks nuclear membrane, the genetic material is scattered over the plasma membrane. Hence, we term or coin that particular nucleus as nucleoid instead of nucleus. Right? Question so far?
No.
Please ask questions because this is part of your second periodical tests. Okay? Ribosomes. Ribosomes are tiny organelles that contain RNA and specific proteins within the cytoplasm. Okay, ribosomes within the cell are directly involved in manufacture of proteins using their RNA and amino acids. Again, this is considered as the protein factory of the cell because proteins are actually generated or manufactured here in the ribosomes. This process involves decoding the information contained in our mRNA and using amino acid to produce the required proteins. Okay, they're considered as the protein factory of the cell. Right? Talking about vaccines. Sure. I already heard about mRNA because our vaccine is mRNA based. mRNA means messenger RNA. Messenger RNA carries information needed in order to decode informations. Okay? The informations there should be decoded in order for us to create that particular protein. Okay. Hence our latest vaccine. Okay. Latest advancement of technology. We are now creating the mRNA-based vaccines. This is the reason behind. We need to decode the information contained in that mRNA-based vaccine to create a particular amino acid in order for us, again, in order for our immune system to create its own protection, its own defense, its own antibodies against that particular virus. That's the reason behind. Well, for me, it's really good. Okay, it's a product of the advancement of technology. Before, they're just creating vaccines out of isolating a particular virus. Yeah, and you know, introduce it in the body in order for us to create our own defense, our own antibodies. But now we are creating we are decoding that particular messenger RNA in order for us to create our own defense, right? There are two types of ribosomes based on where they're actually located. We have free ribosomes. They're scattered in the cytoplasm. That's why they're called free ribosomes. Okay, they're free, right? The second one is the attached ribosomes. When we say attached ribosomes, they're actually attached to somewhere else. They are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, they're attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Hence, the endoplasmic reticulum that contains ribosomes are called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It makes now the ER on the endoplasmic reticulum rough because the ribosomes are actually attached to the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum or ER. Let's tackle later the rough ER and the smooth ER. What are the differences and what are their functions? Questions so far?
No.
All right. Mitochondria. This is one of the important, okay? One of the
Oh
important
my god.
organelles. Why? It is considered as the powerhouse of the cell. When we say powerhouse of the cell, it actually gives energy to the cell. It is the power generator of the cell, okay, in the form of ATP or adenosine triphosphate. Mitochondria are some of the largest organelles within the cell. It plays an important role in respiration where they generate ATP, the one that I am telling you a while ago, the adenosine triphosphate. This is the energy currency of the cell. This is how we actually use energy through ATPs or adenosine triphosphate. Okay, from substrate in the presence of oxygen. Okay, because we are what aerobic organism, we need oxygen in order for us to perform our metabolic processes. In the absence of oxygen, tendency is your cell might degenerate. Your cell also will die. Okay, that's how important oxygen is. Okay, it is the energy currency of the cell. Okay, we are actually using ATPs all throughout, even we are sleeping, because your brain actually use a lot of ATPs in the process. ATP stores energy in the form of chemical bond and is released whenever it is needed for various cell functions. Right. Again, mitochondria is considered as the powers of the cell, which contains a lot of ATPs for us to use in the aerobic respiration. Aerobic means the use of energy. We use a lot of energy. We use a lot of oxygen in the process also. Vacuoles, okay, may be considered as the space inside the cell that does not contain cytoplasm. Okay, vacuoles are present in plant cell and in animal cell, but in different sizes. Okay, vacuoles are larger in plant cell rather than in animal cell. Okay, let's take a look at later why these vacuoles are larger in plant cell and smaller in animal cells. May be described as space inside the cell and that does not contain cytoplasm. It is surrounded by a membrane and filled with a fluid. Okay, vacuole stores various molecules including enzymes, waste product of the cell, water, and even food material depending on the type of the cell. Okay, there you go. Why vacuoles are larger in plant cell and smaller in animal cell? Simply because it stores food material, which is the product of photosynthesis. Okay, and in our case, in animal cell, it carries enzymes, waste product of the cell. Okay, in order for this waste product to be expelled out of the cell. Okay, that's the purpose of the vacuole. Okay, how about cytoskeleton? It is made up of microtubules and microfilaments. Micro means small, tubules means tubes. Okay, these are small tubes and small filaments by spreading throughout the cell in the cytoplasm. Cytoskeleton helps maintain the shape of the cell while also ensuring elasticity. This is the reason why you can actually stretch your skin and return it will just return into its original form. This is because of the cytoskeleton. Without the cytoskeleton, we will be vegetable in form. See, vegetable in form, we don't have what? We don't
What's
have a
that?
particular form. Okay? Again, the cytoskeleton helps maintain the shape of the cell while also ensuring the elasticity of the cell. This is the reason behind. Okay? The cytoskeleton is also involved in the anchorage or anchoring of the nucleus and the supporting cell contents. This is the reason why before, when they observed these organelles under the microscope, they observed that these organelles are in static form. Static means they are just staying in a particular place. This is the reason why. That is because of the cytoskeleton. Okay. Plastids. Okay. Plastids are type of organelles found in plant cell and in algae. Plant cell only. Okay. Why do you think so? Why plastids can only be found in plant cell, not in animal cell? Let's take a look at this one. There are different types of plastids that includes chloroplasts, chromoplasts, gerontoplasts, and leucoplasts. Okay. Chloroplasts contain the pigment chlorophyll that captures energy from the sunlight for photosynthesis. Take note, for photosynthesis, meaning to say that why these are just only found in plant cells simply because plant can actually perform photosynthesis. Okay, we cannot actually create our own food, but what? We consume plant in the process. We don't need plastids in that case. Okay, therefore the chloroplast is the site for photosynthesis, which is the process in which plant produce their own food. Okay, chromoplasts are present in certain photosynthetic eukaryotes. Okay, they are primarily involved in production and storage of pigments, carotenoid. Okay, remember the carotenoid, the carotene. Okay, the orange color of your carrot, the yellow color of your your squash, the color also of your banana, the yellowish color of your leaves. So these are chromoplasts, chromoplastids, right? These pigments are involved in the absorbing of light or absorbing light, energy, as well as protecting chlorophyll in some plants. Take note that chromoplasts are important also in protecting what? The chlorophyll. There are a lot of chlorophylls in a plant. We have chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B.